This is the KBIS series, recorded live from the KBIS podcast studio. The kitchen may be the heart of the home, but specifiers are the pulse of the profession. These are the inside stories, the decisions, strategies, and intelligence that turn ideas into incredible design. The smart home standoff, tech versus tradition in appliances. The new appliance ecosystem, translating value, technology, and human-centric design. So at KBIS, the modern appliance conversation has shifted beyond features and price into something far more consequential: value, usability, and human-centered design. Designers, manufacturers, showrooms, and independent testing labs now operate as an interconnected ecosystem, guiding consumers through increasingly complex decisions. The future of appliance specification belongs to those who can translate technology into meaningful, intuitive, lifestyle-driven solutions. Today's conversation features insights from Nicole Papantoniou of the Good Housekeeping Institute, Jeff Sweet of Sub-Zero Group, and Christa Mallinger with AJ Madison. This conversation explores how appliances have evolved from commodities into lifestyle infrastructure, and why education, not persuasion, defines the new and next era in appliance specification. The appliance industry has entered a human-centric phase where performance, intuitive use, and real lifestyle benefits outweigh raw features and price alone. Designers act as translators of lifestyle, manufacturers as problem solvers, and showrooms as educators. Or do they? The roles are blurring. The roles are crossing. And while that's happening, they are collectively helping consumers through specifiers navigate increasingly sophisticated choices. This group discussed the shift from feature-driven sales towards performance-driven value, emphasizing longevity, ease of use, and frictionless integration into daily life. This is a fantastic conversation, and I really hope you enjoy it. Live from the KBIS studio, presented by AJ Madison. KBIS is the essential show of the year. I think KBIS is one of those events that you have to go to every year. You can't do it every other year. You can't do it every third. If you're a designer, if you're a specifier, you have to go every year. And this is the second year that we've done the KBIS podcast studio, presented by AJ Madison, and I am so thankful, and I really appreciate the support here at the podcast studio. It's amazing. So with that, I want to start. Introduce yourselves. I could do the introductions, but they're never as good.
I'm Nicole Papantoniou, and I am the director of the Kitchen Appliance Lab at the Good Housekeeping Institute. And basically in that lab, we are testing all appliances, large, small, countertop, and writing about them so people know what to get when they're shopping.
Hi there. My name's Jeff Sweet. I oversee product management for Sub-Zero Group, Inc. And I guess the way to summarize what I do, I act as the voice of the customer. And it's really my team's responsibility to understand where our biggest opportunities are for products and features, and then work with our engineering teams to bring those to fruition.
I'm Christa Mallinger. I'm the VP of Sales and Customer Experience at AJ Madison, and I guess we're the appliance authority. So we help designers, specifiers, and also end consumers build their dream kitchen and outdoor spaces.
And I want to start with you, and I want you to give me your thoughts on this. Just to set the table.
Okay.
A little bit, right? If designers are translators, brands are problem solvers, and showrooms are teachers and guides, that seems to be like the three-legged stool in an effort to help consumers get exactly what it is that they want. That's just sort of a framing, positioning statement. How do you view it at AJ Madison?
Sure, and I think I would say I agree with most of that. I do think that the designers really hold the customer's, I guess, best interests at heart. And although I don't think that they need to be as well versed as an appliance expert in, what's going on in the industry, I do think that I would say they're armed with enough knowledge to be dangerous, know what the trends are, know what's happening, but their position is in the design. They're very creative. and how that fits in. Like leverage the partners that you have, whether it's an appliance dealer, whether it's you're not getting into the nitty gritty on that. Like let those people, whether it's appliance advisors at AJ Madison, take on that role to free up that space for you to really shine. Let us help you help your clients in this space.
Jeff, how do you guys think about it?
I would say Christa hit that right on the head. So what we do at Sub-Zero Group is we have trade reps scattered throughout the world, actually, and their job is to do exactly what Christa said, which is to give enough knowledge to our trade professionals to properly specify the kitchen and enough information to be dangerous, but not get into all the nitty-gritty and the technical. But then we also have territory sales managers that then work with the dealer reps, dealer salespeople, to really then help guide that conversation and get the optimal appliance package for their setup.
From your point of view, which I imagine is going to be a little bit different.
I am on the opposite side of, I guess, even this question. I would imagine, like, my job is to help people and customers feel armed with the right information to go in and shop. I want them to have an idea of what they're looking for, but also to trust in the different experts and do a little bit of your research first. So this way you're not just being sold into something that might not actually work for you.
And I definitely agree with that. I think there's just so much, and what the consumer is shown is really what the manufacturer wants them to see. And so I think having an insider's information, right? We see it all, we can really line it up. And I think you do a great job at Good Housekeeping, right? Really lining it up and showing the best options there. But I think leveraging your partners is a good way to go.
And we've gotten into, correct me if you think I'm wrong. This is a debate question. Is price and value the biggest question being asked right now on the consumer side?
I could take that. I would say for our customer, it's definitely leaning more into the value and the benefit the product provides. We obviously work with more the ultra premium type clientele, so price obviously is a thing, but it's kind of not at the forefront. So they're making sure that it's going to fit within their kitchen design. It's going to provide true value for their families. So we lean more into the value and the benefit of the product.
I do think customers come in with a budget in mind, whether they're outwardly speaking about it. Everyone has an idea, and it's really our job to, whether it's the designer's job, the appliance advisor's job, to really understand how they intend to use that space. Whether it's the space or how long they intend to be in the home, whether it's for resale value, all of these things play into showing them where the price kind of outweighs, or where the value outweighs the price there, and figuring out. I've never had someone come back to the showroom and say, I wish I would have spent less on my appliances. Never, right? It's, I wish I would have gotten more or done this, or they come back and they're like, thank you so much for, recommending the under counter. You're really thinking outside of the box here, because we're really building a kitchen for their lifestyle, their dreams, in conjunction with the designers.
So do we need a reset on the word value?
I'm not even sure if it's a reset, but I know I'm seeing it where people do want to put their money into good products that'll last longer. I think we're moving away from something really cheap and trendy just to have it, and people are realizing the more sustainable option is to invest in products that'll basically give back to them.
I think it depends on who you talk to on what the definition of value is, too. So, again, just because I know our customers so well, value for them is performance, it's quality, it's knowing that there's a brand that's going to stand behind the product that they sell, and we have world-class customer service. So, if they need to help walk a customer through how to use something, like that's what we do. That's true value for our clientele.
Have you seen a shift from numerous features to performance? Is the conversation happening, where you're getting value equals features, or features equal value and performance?
I think
that's not just me, is it? Are you guys hearing that too? Okay.
I think it's out there.
I was like, what is that?
I was like,
I was going to say, I think there was a really common belief that the more functions something has, the less it'll do well. But I'm seeing a shift in that, where all these different features are working well. And again, that just makes me happy, because people are getting what they're paying for?
So I think for me, it's really about what's adding value to their life. And I think, what might work for Jeff won't work for me, just because our lifestyles are different. And the appliance technically does similar things, right? But what are those features and those what's the technology in there that enhances my life? That's where the customer sees value. If it lessens my mental load, that's a huge value add to me. It doesn't matter to me how much it costs, right? If it's making my daily life easier, my family's daily life easier, or helps me entertain or use my space. So I don't know. I think the consumer comes in with that idea of, if I'm paying more, I'm going to have this list of features, where really it's resonating. What are the features that work best for you, and getting that right?
And then there's the blend between having the features available that the client may actually love and would benefit their lives, and then there's not knowing about them or how to use them. And I guess that goes into the education process. How do you get the most out of that, and how do you work in tandem and in partnership with your dealer partners?
So I think for us, it's important to, again, as I mentioned earlier, making sure that trade professionals know enough to be dangerous. The dealer salespeople know enough to speak to the features that are going to benefit their client by them asking the right questions. But again, I'm selfishly going to keep talking about my brand here, but we have showrooms across the country, across the world, that customers of ours, even prospects of ours, can go into the showroom and learn firsthand from world-class chefs how to get the most out of their product. They can use all the different modes in the oven, gourmet mode, convection, all the different things. And actually where it's most beneficial is after they get the appliance, because oftentimes with our customer, they buy the appliance. It can be anywhere from 6 to 12 to 18 months before it gets installed in their house. So they may have kind of forgot a lot of what they were sold. So they come in after the fact and understand, again, what they just installed in their house is largely beneficial for us.
When you get appliances to test, I wanted to ask you, I've never asked this before, how do you do that? How do you test a product?
So all of our products are tested based on methodology that we've had for years. We update them as needed. We use a lot of AHAM standards, so really what the industry is using. So we'll get a product in, we'll unbox it, we'll look for any claims that might sound alarming and something that we want to test, make sure it's true. And then from there, we're performing a series of tests on each of those products, comparing them to each other. And oftentimes, it's not by using the user guide, it's seeing how intuitive it is, go into the user guide if we need help. But that's part of it. It needs to work well, but it also really needs to be easy to use. And to me, ease of cleaning is really important. So taking all those factors into consideration is really important.
I think you hit the nail on the head. It has to be intuitive. If you have to read the user manual to be able to use the appliance, or a guest or your parents can't use the appliance, to me, that's a problem with the technology that's there, right? It should be intuitive.
A funny little inside note here is most consumers, most homeowners don't know where their user guide is. So
they don't.
That could be a problem if they needed to use the appliance.
They're coming back to our website, I promise you.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute. So at Sub-Zero, Wolf Cove, how do you engineer that for human-centric design?
So we have a team that we enable to look at human-centric design. So they look at the user interface, the user experience across all of our brands, because what we don't want is a user experience on the cooking product to differ slightly than the user experience on the refrigeration. Now, of course, they're going to differ a little bit, but the intuitiveness needs to be the same. So we have a dedicated team that focuses on the UX of our product.
And when it comes to education in the showroom, I imagine everyone on the floor is well trained at this. But then, you get in one of those scenarios where you have the designer who brings their client with you. And it's funny because when a designer will bring their client with you, they really trust you.
Yes.
Right?
For sure.
Tell me about the education process. Because I think it's important, and I don't think enough designers really take advantage of this, and many consumers don't even really know it. So you guys get this great education from the brands, and then when designers come to you, you guys are ready to have those full conversations. Do you get asked about all the human-centric nature of the features and specific, what the capabilities are?
Yeah, for sure. So I think, we spend a lot on education. We partner with brands to make sure our team is very knowledgeable on all of the details so that our designers don't have to be. We can also be the experts for the customer. But we train our team to really understand what the customer's needs are and what the needs of the designer are as well, right? How is this going to fit in the home? And really relay those key features and benefits to the client so they can make the best decision. I think a lot of people come in with an idea of what they're looking for. Some of them don't, but really guiding them through that process based on what we know about the product and what's the most important thing for these particular clients. Because not a popular opinion, but all fridges cool food. So what really, right? So how do you really decide what is best for each customer? Because there is something for everyone. There is something for someone who wants the big screen on the outside of their fridge and that family hub. And there's also something for the customer who wants that fridge to just blend into the design and not be the main focal point and really just utilitarian.
And that makes me laugh a little bit because we talk about that with fridge testing where most fridges are going to keep your food cool for a long time. There might be a little bit of a temperature jump and down, but the normal person won't realize that. So it is those features that we're looking for. How easy is it to adjust the shelves? How much can you fit in there? How does it swing against your wall? Fingerprints, resistance, that's a big one for us, but really features in a fridge.
Jeff, shot across the bow.
Yeah,
care to
seriously.
respond?
So, I think to someone that might not be as involved or in depth as like myself, there is a little bit of difference in refrigerators and how they cool, and maybe not how they cool, but how they preserve your food. So we have air purification, and that will allow your food to last longer in the refrigerator. And we have a different way to inject humidity into the refrigerator cavity, again aiding in that food preservation. So those are the types of things that, as a manufacturer, we rely heavily on our outside sales force to work with those dealers to help get that benefit across to those end users while at the dealer level.
I was just going to say, I think the comment was more the consumer comes in thinking that's
for sure
what a fridge does.
No, so you don't have to back away from that.
I know, but it's true. That's what they come in. Why am I going to spend this amount? And I think that's where the education goes in, and not only for my team, but really understanding from the design perspective what works within their customers' needs. So sorry.
Listen, end of the day, I think we have to talk about misconceptions. Mm-hmm. We have to talk about the unanswered questions, the unasked questions, and the fact that sometimes industries will tend to over-engineer because they think, well, if this is good, then that's got to be great. And that's not always the case, because user-centric design and something being intuitive, wouldn't it be great if everything we did not require a manual, because it understood how human behavior responds to certain things? And I think that there is a misconception, there is a preconceived notion that all refrigerators cool. So where is the where's value versus cost? And then we get into technology, which we're talking about as well. And I think then you get into added opportunity that doesn't always turn into actionable opportunity. How does Sub-Zero Wolf Cove approach the engineering, the technology, the user experience? Because I remember we talked about this before, where when in-camera refrigerators first came out, it was like, oh my gosh, that's great. I can be at the grocery store and look in my refrigerator. It's like, listen, you are so disorganized. You don't even know where your car keys are. You think your refrigerator is organized? It's not. You won't be able to see what you need. But the idea was interesting. It just didn't take people into account. How do you address tech?
So, Josh, for us, technology, there's several things here, several kind of guiding principles we consider. It has to be seamlessly integrated. It has to be intuitive. And probably most importantly, it has to solve for pain points and reduce friction. If we create and add technology to our appliances that create more friction, or I always use the analogy, right, wrong, or indifferent. I don't want to pull my phone out to turn the lights off if the light switch is right there, right? So like it just has to be super intuitive, and it has to be solving for pain points. And that's really kind of some of the guiding principles we think about when we're developing our product.
I'm really looking forward to these next generation of fridges and the use of cameras, because finally we're seeing tech at the show, especially that it could actually read the labels on your food, and you can actually specifically scan the toothpaste that you like and add it to your shopping list, which I think is important. So there are all these factors that were out in the world and are really now being like so much more usable. And I'm really looking forward to that and just seeing how it does fit into our lives more seamlessly.
Well, and I think it comes to reputation as well. As SBZW, you guys have a great reputation in the marketplace. When you talk to specifiers, there is a certain love and passion for the product, which is remarkable. But it's also not forever. It's ephemeral. You know, you have to keep performing. You have to keep doing it. And that means that you have to fight the urge maybe to put something else in because somebody else might be doing it, but it's not really core to your essence of the being.
Yeah, so that's kind of like my job in a nutshell. So I really have to be obviously cognizant of what's happening in the industry. And you're right, there's urge sometimes of, oh, so-and-so's doing this, we should consider it. But at the end of the day, it comes back to that end user. And the end user oftentimes is the homeowner, could be a designer. But I keep going back to it has to solve a pain point, it has to solve a problem, and it has to be frictionless. So, you know, it's easy to chase what's out there, but we always ground ourselves and tie it back to the end user, that homeowner, and how is it going to provide value for them.
And when it comes to the showroom, you also have, I mean, look, the new kitchen is I've said this so many times, but when I was a kid, a great kitchen was 3 appliances on a triangle, right? An outdoor kitchen, I mean, a really nice outdoor kitchen was when the Weber had a hose next to it.
Yeah, it's true.
But now,
No.
oh my goodness, what is available is really based on imagination, space, and budget. And sometimes budget is the last thing people consider. It's like, but I want it.
So I will say, I think people come in with a budget, and then we kind of work through how do you want, I keep going back, like, how do you want this space to work for you? Who's in the home? Like, when you really look at that 4-piece kitchen package is out the window for the majority of people, unless space is an issue. I would say whether that's under counter, whether that's a wine column, whether that's, you know, fridge drawers. And I think the other thing is thinking about appliances and how you can use them outside of the kitchen, right? And how that technology really helps, or how appliances help in other parts of the home, whether that's in your, I think the most common ones people think about are, you know, home office, basement, bar areas, but pool houses, you're looking at, you know, even in a bathroom, in a vanity, using a warming drawer for your towels, or I'm a big skincare, you know, aficionado guru. So having all of my skincare in a refrigerated drawer in my master, or my primary suite is really, really important to me.
What else is interesting too, and maybe this goes without saying, but like people aren't shopping for appliances like every other year. So like you may have not bought appliances in the last 10 or 15 years, and there's been a lot of movement in the last 10 to 15 years. So you come in thinking, I need a refrigerator, I need something to cook with, and I need a dishwasher. But once you get either to a distributor showroom or a dealer showroom, there's a lot more out there. You talked about under-counter refrigeration, but something that's emerging and has been for a couple of years now is like a steam oven, right? Mm-hmm. No, most people don't understand what a steam oven is, or they think, oh, it's to steam vegetables or fish, and it does so much more than that. So there's just a lot of other, I'll call them ancillary appliances that people might not even be aware of until you start that buying process again, which you haven't done for the 10 to 15 years.
Jeff, I'm surprised you didn't bring up ice. Ice is so hot right now.
Ice makers available too, yes.
I love that. Ice is so hot right now.
It's crazy, whether you want, you know, craft ice, crushed ice, cube, it's
nugget barrel.
It's insane, the amount of ice, but even you know, I thought really from, you know, the vendor side of it, I was like, okay, this is going a little crazy, right? Honestly, but the consumer, they want it. They need it. They have to have it because this person likes this ice and they buy it, whether it's in the refrigerator, you know, as an a feature, or they're buying the countertop version.
Can I tell you something funny?
Accommodate everyone.
It's so funny. When we moved from LA to Tulsa, when we got to Tulsa and started looking at houses, every single house had an ice maker. Mm-hmm. Every single one. And in California, never saw them. Mm-hmm. Never saw them. It's just one of those things. Like regionally, it was a thing. Like everybody had it. And I think it goes back to human-centric design and what's possible. And because I wanted to get into so many appliances for so many spaces, the kitchen has just gotten ridiculous because the pandemic changed the way people think. It rewired our brains about what potential is versus possible. And don't tell a designer you can do something and think that they're not going to go way overboard and try to do it even more than that. So you get into these unique spaces with unique opportunities. You've got main kitchen, working kitchen, dirty kitchen, scullery, butler's pantry, ensuite kitchenette, exterior ensuite. I was working with a designer who, in partnership with their architect and builder, had multi-generational. Mm-hmm. So they had different spaces, and each space was an ensuite, and each ensuite had an outdoor patio, and each outdoor patio had its own UL-rated outdoor kitchenette. And then each indoor ensuite had a coffee machine with small refrigeration, personal refrigeration. And then what they did was they had a main area where everyone would gather and come together. It was so thoughtfully done. I'm not a designer. I would never think that way. Brilliant. But it's how it's made available to them. Does Sub-Zero Wolf Cove think in those terms?
100%. So one thing we pride ourselves on is the limitless flexibility we allow designers to achieve. So all of our designer series refrigeration can be seamlessly integrated in any configuration in which you can imagine to ultimately build whatever you want. We work with those designers that are designing several different kitchen spaces in their home, and those are definitely the people that we want the insights from to understand where their mind is at. And again, we want to build our product to allow them to not have boundaries and just be limitless with their design.
You are listening to the KBIS series presented by AJ Madison. We'll be right back.
AJ Madison Pro is the industry's trusted appliance source for professionals who need fast, reliable access to top brands. Backed by nationwide shipping and a powerful logistics network, delivery is precise and dependable. With over 150 premium brands, including Miele, Sub-Zero, Wolf, Cove, Viking, Thermador, Gaggenau, and more, AJ Madison Pro is your single source for appliance specification. Qualified builders and architects can save up to 15% on luxury brands through exclusive trade programs with registration handled for you. AJ Madison Pro, smarter appliance sourcing starts at ajmadison.com/pro.
Are you testing outdoor products as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot.
What are you finding?
First of all, there's so much more. That grill that you were talking about next to your hose made me chuckle. But all of the grills, even like your standard grill your charcoal grill that you light with a chimney starter, just the fact now that you can light it digitally, you can actually keep track of the temperature inside of a charcoal grill. Like that was unheard of. And again, these are all just they're just more seamless, much easier to use. And there are so many. People don't just have one grill anymore. They definitely have a grill and a smoker, maybe a charcoal grill. And people just want more. And also ease. Like you're talking about, instead of just using one, I have a set of outdoor dishes just because that's easier, and ease of use is top of mind always.
I want to get back to the tech issue for a second and the potential for over-engineering and how, when it comes to Wi-Fi, and a couple things I want to run by. And one is induction, okay? So when you go from gas to induction, that is that's a switch that it may have to happen on the panel. It definitely has to happen in wall. That's a major change. And someone has to be convinced why they want to go with induction over gas. Then you have other elements that do you have to sell the tech? Do you really have to sell new technology? Do you have to sell someone on sous vide, or can you say, look, this is what it's going to do for your life? Or when there's another not all technologies catch on, or some catch fire right away, and then it's like they fizzle out. It's like, oh, I didn't really need that.
So I think it depends. And using induction as an example, induction is by no means a new technology. It's been available for decades and decades. I think technology 10, 15, maybe 20 years ago had to really be sold. I do think now, though, so many people have heard about it or have a friend or a family member that has induction and they see the true benefit that it does provide. I think there's still a little bit of selling, but not as much selling as what used to have to happen. And partially because it looks like a standard, like ceramic glass top range you'd find in your college apartment. So which the tech is completely different and the performance is completely different than that. But until you experience it and you hear about it, you might think it's that. So.
But I also think induction specifically has gotten better over the years. So people didn't really know how to use it. It wasn't that great. It was burning things too fast. There's brands now putting knobs into their induction burner is to make sure that people feel comfortable using it. It's the familiarity of gas. So there's a lot of changes that have happened in that category that people are being able to use it easier.
I think you guys hit it. Most people, I would say in the past, even now, come in and they think induction is electric, right? When really it cooks and performs much more like gas. But when you have the slider, I think the knobs definitely help so that they can see. So they were burning things because they're using it as they would use an electric stovetop or range top. But I do think we still have to sell some of this technology, right? There are, I think with social media and influencers and their designers that they're working with, they're more educated, but there is still that gap of getting them over not only how will it work, but how will it work for me? And there is a lot of people moving from different parts of the country to other parts, downsizing, especially in an aging generation, that you really have to take that gas consumer that lived in the Midwest and is now moving somewhere that your only options are induction or electric. And so really helping educate them on how to use it and how it will work best for them.
Yeah, to me, it's not just the word sell, but teaching people how to use it. That's one of my biggest things that I think of when I'm testing. I don't just want to sell a product, tell someone what the best air fryer is. I want them to know how to use it, how they cannot look at a recipe, best practices. So I think it's really teaching them, having them experiencing it so they could use it better.
One thing that we gathered from our consumer insights is one of the biggest barriers to entry moving from gas to induction was what you guys said, was that digital control of the heat. And why we recently came out with a knob-controlled induction range, because there's something about a gas range when you can turn the knob and there's this very tactile, I can control it, that a lot of people are missing with induction. So hence now you get back to that kind of tactile knob control on some of our professional induction ranges, which is very, very well received by those folks that were a little bit hesitant going from gas to induction.
And even so, if your finger was a little wet.
Including Josh.
Yeah, no, sorry, finish your thought.
I was just saying, even if your finger was a little wet, it was hard to use, you couldn't use it, so just eliminating all those pain points is really important.
It is, and we switched to induction 2 years ago. And I believe we are still the only people in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We're not. We're not. But it's really interesting because after growing up with gas, the experience, I didn't know how to cook anymore. And it took a minute to understand. Now, 2 years in, I am incredibly happy with it. I know how to use it. I know how it works. But what was interesting was the process. And this is
learning curve.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. It was the learning curve from the very beginning. And it's when, we go to install, the install, and it's like, oh, we're gonna have to change your panel. We're gonna have to make an adjustment, because it was just gas, so we had the install. Once we got there, I'm like, oh, is this really what I want to do? But once we did it, it took me probably about 6 months to learn how it works. And when I'm making, hard-boiled eggs and I can power boil in 30 seconds, okay, now we're on.
Now we're cooking.
Now we're cooking. This is great. But it's interesting because you're beholden to your designer to say, hey, you know what? I know you have gas, but maybe you'd be happier with this. Let's look at it. Well, what does it do? Correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I fully believe this. If you told 10, not chefs, but just regular people about sous vide and what it does for your food and how you can prepare with it, I would venture to guess at least 75% of them would take it on that alone.
I see that. People all the time are asking me, should I buy a sous vide machine? And I don't necessarily think you need one. So it's just one of those things that they heard from a friend that it's great and they want to try it because the novelty, too, of trying something new, I think, is appealing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think sous vide's a nice technology. So I think people are intrigued by it. It seems to be a little bit less risky because you can buy like a circulator, which, I mean, you're not redesigning your kitchen for. Yeah, I think there's something there that people are intrigued by.
I think the point is, there are so many new opportunities now. Who knew they needed wine columns? Mm-hmm. I mean, wine columns were in restaurants 15 years ago. They were not in residential kitchens, but coffee machines.
Built-in coffee maker, yeah, everything.
They are now.
They also make really good coffee.
They do.
Like these products do a really good job of what they're selling, and I think that's what's important in getting people to keep buying.
And it's interesting, Josh, you bring that up. I also feel like professional style ranges weren't a thing a while ago too, right? So I feel like people are associating commercial product with quality, longevity, performance. And, I think it started with like commercial style ranges, like, hey, this restaurant,
range, yeah.
this has a professional commercial range. I want one of those in my house. Hey, I saw this wine column in this amazing steakhouse. I want one of those in my house. Coffee system, same deal. I think they're equating that to taking it to the next level of performance and quality.
But it begs the question, when is it the designer's responsibility to say no? When do they draw the line? And because I think designers they're the touch point to the lifestyle. They do an onboarding session. They know their clients. They know what their lifestyle is. They really understand. They should, and I think most do, understand who they are and what they need. But then social media will tell them what they want. Mm-hmm. Social media will tell everyone what they want, and that's not always where you need to be.
I think where the designer needs to step in and say no is when it affects the aesthetic of the space that they're going for, because they do a lot of onboarding sessions and really understanding how they want to use space, what they're looking for, and some technology is better unseen than seen, especially if you're paying top dollar for this gorgeous space that's going to be designed. You may not want a huge screen, or maybe it needs to be a hidden huge screen, or whatever that looks like. But I do think the designer, and at least the ones I've spoken to, tell their clients no on a lot of things. And not just a no, but a no with the why behind it, and where we can integrate this, or how we can create the same I guess, whatever the feature is that they're looking for in a different way that works within the aesthetic of the space. Because really, I think that's where, designers shine. They're very creative. I couldn't even dream up some of the things that I see, and I was like, it's amazing. So I think really playing into that. That's where I would say no.
I think I'm not a designer, so first and foremost, I am not a designer. But I feel like the whole process is a delicate balance of emotional and rational thinking. And I think it's the designer is asking good questions. It's understanding their client's lifestyle. It's understanding their preferences, how people are going to use what they're going to use. And honestly, it's probably a little bit of like, we need to maybe think a little more rationally about this, because it can be very, obviously I want a coffee system, obviously I want this, and it's like asking the good questions like, all right, how are you going to use this? Are you going to use it? And like kind of balancing that the kind of emotional and rational mindset during the process.
I have a silly question for you. When you're evaluating, first of all, it's a two-parter. What is your engagement like with the specifier community? And do you get end user feedback to your responses?
The one way we test at Good Housekeeping is in the lab. We're doing our side-by-side test, but we also work with consumers to send products home to them and see how they work in the real life home. And that is actually where we get so much valuable information, because oftentimes it's long-term testing and they're interacting it. Most of the, like, they're often not trained as chefs. They don't use 10 air fryers a day like we do. So we do get a lot of feedback through the surveys, but also if someone doesn't like something, they are writing in about it immediately. So we do hear it, and it's always really great and validating when our testing reflects their experience and the two marry each other. And it's also a really good way for us to learn about like what the consumer isn't ready for yet. Like we tested an automatic pour over once, and people just didn't know how to use it. They didn't understand it, and we thought it was great. But it was like, okay, people aren't ready for this right now, but how can they be in the future?
That's interesting.
It's so fun.
Have you seen anything that has come through that you can recall like that, where it was like, oh, they're not ready for this yet?
Oh, sure.
And then the time came and it went to market and did really well.
I think those automatic coffee makers, there were a lot that started and they had really high price points and people were intrigued by them. But honestly, like especially a lot of the ones that started didn't make that great coffee. They made better coffee than maybe your single serve plastic capsule machine, but it wasn't that great. So now people are willing to put the money behind it, and there are machines that make really delicious coffee, and now everybody wants an automatic coffee machine that can make a cappuccino with touch of a button. So brands are making that, and you could get them for up to $3,500, but you could get them as low as $800, which still sounds very high, but it's much lower than I think people would
less
expect.
Than a year's trip to a famous coffee shop people stop at every day.
That's such a great.
Plug it.
That is such a great sales. That is such a great sales pitch, though. It really is.
But it's true.
Well,
if you think about how many times you go get coffee outside of your home, wherever that may be, and you think about, okay, so you're going to pay for it in less than a year. Some people pay for it in 6 months. I promise you.
Yeah, I don't go to the store to buy that $7 latte anymore. I can make it at home, and it's delicious, and I know what I'm getting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I actually have a colleague back at the office that bought a fairly expensive coffee system, and on her whiteboard she has number of trips, to said coffee shop just to justify the expense for the coffee system. So, yeah.
It's so funny.
That is hilarious. It's something you said when we were talking that I want to drill down on, because I think it's germane to the point, is you said in relation to CEUs and trade reps that work more closely in the showroom with specifiers, personalized education for designers to suit the client. The in-showroom programming, I think, is so important. So I wanted you to touch on that.
Sure, yeah. So I think, especially for specifiers, designers, we work really closely in our showrooms to educate on their pain points with their customers. I think when you ask when is a good time to say no, I think I would also partner with the experts on, hey, this is what my client's thinking. This is, how can we make this work for them within the design, and really partner up with someone who knows how you can make it work for that client and their lifestyle. So we do a ton of CEU classes. We also partner with vendors to have them come into our showroom to work through pain points, whether it's an installation issue, because that does really play into the design. Whether you can, install hinge to hinge or not, really affects how designers specify, or how the design kind of comes to life. So we do a ton of that in the showroom. We train our staff, obviously, but we also want to be the resource for designers to arm them with just enough knowledge to really be the experts and gain the confidence of their clients, but then rely on our team to get into the nitty-gritty details of what's best.
And Jeff, we had talked about that a little bit too, and you were talking about how Sub-Zero's distribution channel with trade reps to educate specifiers.
Yeah, that is their sole job, is to work with the trade professionals in the design community to educate them. They put on CEU courses at our showrooms, our distributor showrooms, at the dealer showrooms. It's really to make them as aware and educated as possible. Yeah, you made a good point about like just installation and applications and like where you can and can't do certain things. Just little things that we don't want them to think hard about because that's not their job. Their job is to design a beautiful kitchen, and we don't want to be the reason that the limitation there. So just really, it's about education.
When you get a new product to evaluate, what's your mindset? For example, if you get a new range that you're going to run through its paces, do you come in as a gourmet? Do you come in as a really good cook? Do you come in as someone who's just an average, I don't mean average as an average, but an average mom with 3 kids, ages 5 and 3, and...
I think that's a great question. We really think of the average home consumer. Who's going to turn this on? Who doesn't have that culinary background or training? Can they use it easily? My favorite thing when I'm looking at a range is, or any product, how is it different from other ones that I've tested? I'm always looking for the little details where, oh, look at that knob. Oh, look at the shape of these grates. Oh, look at how this door opens. Look at the font. Those are the details I'm looking for. But at the end of the day, it needs to work for everyone, and it does need to deliver those A+ results so that if a professional chef is using it, they really get those great results that they would in a restaurant.
I think you bring up a great point, and I think a lot of consumers come in, whether it's designers or end users, and they do want to see the differences. So you're lucky enough to have all of those kind of lined up, and I think that's where the dealers, AJ Madison is a great resource to line those up and be able to feel the difference, right? I think anyone shopping for any appliance, whether you're spending $500 or $50,000 on that said appliance, like you can feel the difference. They want to know what they're getting, and so you can really see everything in one place and touch and feel and see those little things. Like, does the grate matter? You know, whether it's the font, whether it's the weight of the door, how does it close? Is it a seamless installation? All of those kind of features matter for the end consumer, but also for the designer to be able to speak to and make sure it fits seamlessly in their design.
Is it a fair statement to say that you can judge an appliance company in quality and performance by their base model?
That's a tough one for me because we don't have a base model. Like,
no, but you understand my point, though,
Yeah.
right? Like, when I say base, I mean that there is, based on the name, and I'm very familiar with Sub-Zero Wolf & Cove and the quality level of the product. And I was trained once by one of your chefs in the showroom and ran traps on just about everything. So I've been there, I've seen it, I've experienced it. That the quality level call it an entry level. Everyone's got an entry level. No?
Not really.
Well,
no. Not really.
So explain that to me, because I probably should have started with this, but when it comes to brand loyalty, so important. You want your kids to specify to have the same appliances. Your kids should want the same thing you had because that's what your parents had. When it comes to brands, right? And obviously the models change, but you've got to get new customers into. How do you do that?
Yeah. That's a fantastic question. To me, brand loyalty is several things. Do what you say you're going to do, right? So we make the claim of being, the best, high performing, high quality. We build our product to last 20 plus years. You better last 20 plus years if that's the claim you're staking. You're going to make that claim. Additionally, though, it's not just about the sales process. It's not just about owning the product. It's all the after installation. It's you just talked about working with one of our chefs. Like that is a service and a benefit that not a lot of manufacturers can offer. The generations see that. They see how their parents are being taken care of, and they see I can't tell you how many people, my parents have a Sub-Zero, and it's amazing. Like, it comes up all the time. So there's something there that's being triggered in their brain of high quality, built to last, and we have such strong brand equity. It's the whole process. It's not just the selling and the ownership. It's everything from start to finish for us.
I want to say yes to your question because I feel like if a product isn't performing well for us at that lower price point, I can't justify to someone to buy it at the higher price point because we didn't have a good experience with the lower one. Like, I understand parts can be different, but if someone's looking for a specific brand, it needs to be good, because then it does put a bad taste in someone's mouth.
Yeah, I think when you say performance, when you kind of asked the question, I was like, well, I think it depends on what they need that to do, right? So if you're looking, I think there's something for everyone. And I don't know that I would judge a brand solely on one product, right? Now, I would say if the product doesn't work, it doesn't do what it says it's going to do, of course, yes, then I probably wouldn't rely on that brand or trust that brand. But if they're claiming to be this and they fulfill that need, even if it's not the best of the best, because that's not what they're claiming, right? They're claiming to be in this price point or in this niche, then I think you can trust it. And I do think that different brands, obviously not Sub-Zero, but different brands do come in with an opening price point or an entry level and then build on there, whether it's features, whether it's quality and all of that. And so I don't know that I would judge the entire brand on that opening price point, because it's there for a reason and it has a purpose, as long as it works.
So, poorly asked question.
No, it was a great question.
Okay, so round robin, as we close this out, round robin, Chris, I'm going to start with you. We'll go this way. What did I miss? What did in this conversation, did I miss anything? Did we not cover anything that is germane to the point? And by the way, I'm not putting you on the spot. When I come into conversations like this, and this is why I love having you three here, because you come from such different standpoints. You know what I mean? And to have this same conversation, because the questions that we're asking here are being asked by every client of every designer when they get to their kitchen design. And it's confusing, and it's a little scary, because the budget is really, really important. They can't afford, I don't know many folks that can afford to just say, well, it didn't work out, I'm going to do it again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, exactly. What did we miss?
I don't know that we missed it, but something I really want to touch on again is whether it's you're being influenced by social media or what, really focusing in on the technology that enhances your particular lifestyle. Because I think when you really think about that, it's brand agnostic. It's, it really suits their needs. And from a designer perspective, like, they'll trust you more. They're going to recommend you. It fits in with every design aesthetic. So that would be the one thing, is if it enhances your life or their lifestyle, we'll figure out how to make it work and the price point.
Bingo. Love that. Jeff?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we hit a lot of key points here. I guess maybe what I would say is it's obviously, it's certainly a crowded space out there. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of different ends of the spectrum in which a lot of brands are playing right now. And, I think it's just important to understand what is truly going to provide the right value for you and your family. And for the designer too, what's going to provide the right value for your client, what's going to provide the right value for your business, right? Because I think a lot of this is, there's some pride for designers that are designing these beautiful masterpiece kitchens that there's their reputations on the line too. So find and partner with brands that are going to aid in that and benefit them too. But I think it's a lot about asking the right questions and what is truly going to be beneficial versus the noise and the clutter that is, there's a lot of it out there. So just what is going to provide the true value for you?
I really thought the same thing. What do people really need is something I want to talk about. What are those nice to haves? What are those items that might be nice at a dinner party? Do they actually need it? But at the end of the day, what do you really need in your home? Like, that's something that to answer would be great.
It's a great point, and one that deserves exploration and the time to really stop down and figure it out. This was so much fun.
This was great.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing this. This is fantastic. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Another absolutely incredible conversation recorded live from the KBIS podcast studio, presented by AJ Madison Pro in Orlando, Florida. 2026. What an incredible KBIS this was. Thank you, Marnie, for helping me produce this. Thank you, Leanne, for making this possible from Flying Camel. And thank you, Amy, and your whole team from AJ Madison for sponsoring the KBIS podcast studio and being such great partners. Thank you to everyone who took part in this incredible event, this activation from KBIS. The ideas espoused here, the learnings, the strategies, the techniques, ways to help designers be the absolute best that they can be through knowledge and practical application of new industry standards and adopting new strategies and adapting to new policy. It's amazing. This was an incredible event, and I can't wait to see you next year. Thanks for listening. See you next time.